Okay, I think I'm finally ready to talk about the Maverick. So in the current landscape of YouTube knife channels, there's kind of this mad dash to get content on about new knives that come out as soon as possible. Being a young channel, I'm at a massive disadvantage because I don't get sent any of this stuff prior to release date to make content about. My best case scenario is getting a knife on drop day, getting it shipped to me as soon as possible, and then cranking out content to try to get it out just a few days later than other people have their content already out. And I actually felt like with the Maverick, there's a lot of content that came out super fast, and I've already been uncomfortable with this mad dash to create content that exists in the knife world, but especially when I got my hands on the Maverick, I found this was a knife that I really wanted to take my time with. So here I'm finally ready to give you some thoughts, and truth be told, because I did this, I think I have a whole lot more thoughts to offer than I did when I initially put my hands on this knife. The Maverick from Tactile Knives is a completely made in the US and specifically the state of Texas folding knife with a bar style lock and a drop point magna cut blade hardened to an HRC range of 63 to 64. The titanium version has full steel liners, this gorgeously milled contoured scale with the precision that you would expect from Tactile, whether you've had the pleasure of owning one of their knives or one of their pens in the past. It is important to note that they make as much of the hardware on this knife, including the screws and the spacers, in-house, with I'm told the only exceptions being their Omega springs and their phosphor bronze washers, which are made locally in Texas but not by Tactile themselves. The Maverick measures a total of 8¼ inches with a blade length of 3½ inches and a robust cutting edge of right about 3½ inches as well. It's a significant size increase from its highly successful baby brother, the Rockwall. Here it is between a Benchmade Bug Out and a Wee Banter, a Spyderco Para 3 in Paramilitary 2, and a children's alligator bath toy and saltine cracker. The titanium version weighs in at 3.81 ounces, with the Richlight Micarta version being significantly lighter, and if you're a true ounce counter, probably the better choice for you. For me, I'm all about this textured titanium. Before I start throwing out some hot takes, let's talk about all the things that I really like about this knife. First and foremost, the work on these scales, the milling, the contour, the feel, the fit and finish, it is just fantastic. It's exactly what you would expect from Tactile. This is a knife that is just truly beautiful to hold and to look at. Overall, I really do like the size of this knife. I like the continued choice of magna cut. The grind on this knife was good. The edge from the factory, not bad. The thickness of the blade stock makes this a really good slicer, and it feels really good in the hand in the most natural position. This isn't a knife that has a whole lot of alternative grip options, but it does give you a really solid natural position with a full 4-finger purchase that allows you to really bear down on this. And you know, as much as I've seen a whole lot of other people diss this pocket clip design, they think that it's kind of like a cheap afterthought to have these barrel spacers here. I actually really like this pocket clip. I think it goes in and out of the pocket really easy. It doesn't stick up too much. I think most of all, the cool part about this design is that this pocket clip is going to be really hard to bend out. And if you do, the actual clip part is going to replace super easy, because I really doubt you're going to bend these spacers and the screw points. And after you've dealt with enough bent out pocket clips, it's actually a really welcome thing to see a design that makes it really difficult to bend out the pocket clip. So when I was first able to secure a Maverick, I was incredibly excited to get my hands on it because I've been following this design for a long time and I have a very high opinion of Tactile Knife Company. I also have a robust collection of bar lock style knives, so my familiarity and perhaps my standards were pretty high. When I got my Maverick, it had substantial both side to side and vertical blade play when the knife was loose enough to have smooth operating action, which as a side note is kind of the whole point of the bar lock system. And even though I had been on the wait list for months and months to get a Maverick, I actually didn't get one right away. I was able to get one from a retailer before my number actually ever came up on the wait list, which is kind of something that I'm still a little bit salty about, if I'm honest. In my most of the time humble opinion, I think if you host a wait list and advertise it quite a bit, then you should fulfill that wait list before you're sending it to retailers, so that people that haven't been following along with the knife can't just luckily grab one before the people who have been waiting for it. That's just my 2 nickels adjusted for inflation. My original Maverick was also not on center. Now I do say my original because even after I disassembled and reassembled my Maverick, which these aren't the easiest knives to disassemble and reassemble, the blade play did massively improve after I reassembled it, and the action did improve, but even after tons of work trying to break it in, I was not satisfied with the amount of blade play that I had, so I ended up sending it back to Tactile. Their customer service team was super classy and super prompt and excellent. In the end, they decided to fully replace my Maverick, not just fix it, which I think also kind of exposes some of the broader issues that they're having here. But now that I have this one, it's on center, there's no blade play side to side or vertically, and it does have relatively smooth action. I feel like I can actually judge this thing properly now. And I think even after they've worked out most of the kinks, there's a few things that are just off about this knife. The first one being the spring tension. This spring is just way too soft. In a bar style lock, your detent is completely based on the spring tension of what it takes to roll that bar off of the blade tang. And in this case, it's really weak, and so it's just not very satisfying, and you can have many misfires if you're not actually flicking the blade out there and keeping contact. Sort of the secret to a good detent is that if you load it, once you overcome it, the knife blade just flings out there. Say like on this Rockwell, for example. Also, while the washers in here are a really nice slotted phosphor bronze washer that I hope will break in really well over time, there is just something about the action of this knife that isn't very satisfying, and it just doesn't feel quite like other bar lock systems, say like the clutch lock or like the Benchmade bug out. I mean, really just listen for the sound difference of these two actions. While this is Tactile's first run at the bar lock, I think that enough people are trying it that you can hit a home run on your first try. But I do hope and I do expect that if Tactile does another bar lock style knife, they will take the feedback of the knife community to heart, and that these things will only get better and better. I'm also really not a fan of these thumb studs. They seem kind of plain, and I prefer thumb studs to be easily removable in general. The other thing that kind of bothers me about this knife, and I'm trying to extend grace where grace is due for this, acknowledge that there's a human element here and that people are imperfect, but when this knife came out and a bunch of people were reporting blade play issues, I saw across various social media platforms people from Tactile responding to comments saying that in a bar style lock, side to side blade play is completely normal and acceptable, but vertical blade play is not. This made me just about do a spit take, because honestly I couldn't disagree more that side to side blade play is just normal, because here it is back to me with absolutely no side to side blade play. I have several other knives with a crossbar style lock with absolutely no blade play. So I was really disappointed in the response from Tactile to be telling people that in some ways they should be willing to accept that they paid $350 for a knife that has side-to-side blade play. Now again, I want to extend a hearty benefit of the doubt that they have talked about this internally and are correcting it, and that they will raise the bar on their standards, because I think Tactile is definitely a company capable of achieving greatness. All in all, even with some scorching hot opinions on this knife, I actually really like it. I enjoy carrying it, and it's definitely going to stay in my rotation to be carried more and more. It's a super enjoyable experience, and while there's a couple little things still nagging at me about this knife, they're definitely things that I'm willing to get over because I like so much about this knife. While the price may be a little bit steep for some, I think the level of machining and detail work on these knives speak for themselves. This is one that's definitely worthy of you taking a look at, as long as you understand a few caveats and you're willing to send your first one back for repairs if you happen to get one with blade play. Thank you all so much for spending your time watching my video. I hope that you'll let love and light fill your life. I'll see you next time.